This week in Identity 5, we have a lot to talk about. Welcome to This Week in Identity 5, where we talk about what happened in the last update and what we can expect from the next coming update that comes this week, and other rumors and leaks that have come out about future things that are coming to the game. So without further ado, let's begin with last week's update. We got a couple of things. We got more than I expected, at least. We of course have got the mechanic's birthday that happened on the 13th of September. And we also got the Mini Dream Witch, the pets that you can buy that is similar to the other hunters that you can get. You can get the Mini Joseph, you can get the Mini Lucino, and you can get other kind of hunters as well, like Bloody Queen. That was a recent addition. I did of course buy this Mini Dream Witch, but I haven't had much time playing as Survivor recently because there have been some errors, at least on my PCs, where I couldn't even open the game very often. So hopefully they've fixed that, and yeah, maybe I can get to test Dream Witch later on in streams. The Misty Villa and the Misty Villa furniture have had a couple of updates and optimizations. Some extra sound effects or environmental sound effects have been added to the room, and some of the furniture had some issues, and parts of the building itself had some issues that they fixed. There have been a couple of adjustments to the matches as well. Postman can now send his letters to all the survivors in duos. I never played Postman in duos, so I'm not really sure what he could do or what he couldn't do before. If you know what the issue was originally for him, maybe he could only send it to a certain amount of players in the duos matches. Please tell me down below, because I actually have no idea. Arms Factory has had a bit of a change, a very minor one, to stop survivors from abusing a kind of hack or maybe strategy that was kind of unfair, and that is that they've moved a barrel that apparently was near one of the exit gates. According to Netties, survivors would sometimes crawl between the barrel and the wall or something like this, and they couldn't be picked up by the hunter. This sounds a bit kind of unfair, and if somebody abused that, I think that's a bit rude, but what can we say? This is what happens. Okay, the Chasing Shadows mode that has been kind of on and off for a very long time, and I must say I haven't played it since its release, is now a permanent game mode. I'm not really sure why it wasn't a permanent game mode in the beginning. Maybe they had some issues with it, or maybe it was some problems for the server or something like that. Now it is permanent. You can play it as much as you want. Once again, another buff has come for the AI. Instead of for the hunter, it's come for the survivors. The AI survivors will now adjust their persona webs, as far as I understand, for the lineup. If you're playing in a custom match with some AI bots, they will adjust their persona web depending on what you pick and whatever your friends pick in that custom match. This is once again making them smarter and making them adapt more to each situation, so this is very interesting. This is something that I wasn't expecting. Psychologist and patient now have an interaction when they meet each other. I'm not really sure if this is only for the S tiers. From what I understood from the patch notes, it's both for the S tier and for the default skins. So I would like to see what the interactions are like. Maybe they get happy or start jumping in the air when they're close to each other. I'm not completely sure. There have been a ton, and I mean a ton, of bug fixes. Usually we have an incredible amount, and I keep on saying that, but this week we've had so many. I read through some of them and not all of them, because there were way too many for me to even read through. So if you want to read through the bug fixes, be my guest. Something that I didn't know was coming until the day after, or the day of the release of last week's video, they announced the autumn event. That was kind of a shame that they announced it a little bit later, because I would have added that to my last video. But yeah, the autumn event came out where you could earn fragments, you could get some dynamic graffitis of seer and of mechanic, and you could get a couple of other things as well if you log in daily and do some of the missions that they give you. I believe this is all leading up to what's happening this week, because this week we've got a special event. We've got the Lunar Sacrifice event. This is something that's very important in China, as I understand, and every year they do some type of lunar event. I think last year's we had an Explorer lunar event. This year we're having the Prisoner one, where you can unlock a B tier skin for Prisoner called the Prisoner of the Moon. Also, if you continue doing all the missions or continue the story, you'll also get the Blue Velvet portrait frame. Along with this event, there'll be a small story mode that I'm assuming will let you kind of maybe get some special type of currency to be able to buy these things from a special event shop, probably. Because of this Lunar Sacrifice event, also known as the Mid-Autumn Festival, there'll be some skins that will be returning. First, we've got the B tier Perfumer skin, we've got a B tier skin for Dream Witch, a B tier for Coordinator, and another B tier skin for Ripper that are going to be out for a limited period of time. I think that we've seen these skins before, although I don't recognize them myself. I think that's all we can see from this week's update. At least that's all they've announced for this week. But we've had a ton, and I mean a ton, of leaks and rumors. Next season's Logic Path skin has been announced. We talked about it last week, saying that Priestess was supposed to get a Logic Path skin, but Priestess's skin has been confirmed. It's a very interesting skin. You know, there are a lot of people who aren't fans of Priestess because they're usually hunter mains, but this is nice to see Priestess getting a very nice skin. Also, there will be a portrait that will come out for the Logic Path, a border, and possibly an accessory. Apparently it's a B tier accessory, but I'm not 100% sure about it. It looks more like an emote in its kind of presentation, but I guess it must be an accessory because that's what we've had for the past couple of Logic Paths. Coming as well, we've got a big change towards rank that everyone's been looking forward to, and I think a lot of people have been asking for quite a while now. Survivors between Hound and Mammoth, and if you're a hunter, Cobra and Sabertooth, can now ban one survivor if you're a hunter and one hunter if you are a survivor. Above these tiers, you can now ban 2 survivors or 2 hunters. This is something that I think we've really been looking forward to. It makes rank much more appealing, especially to lower tiers, because it's a real pain at the moment for hunters to be able to deal with such a big number of powerful survivors that, you know, getting to those higher tiers is actually quite difficult now. For survivors as well, it's going to be important because they can now ban Sculptor or Breaking Wheel if they're worried about some really OP players coming along and playing those characters. If a hunter goes against a 4 team or a team of 2 who are in voice chat and another 2 who are in voice chat, they will now gain more points if they win, or lose less points, I believe, more technically, because they are going against a team of 4. Oh, and also survivors can't use the same characters. That I was kind of confused about how this wasn't a rule in the first place. Naiad has got a big buff. Her early game is going to be much better since she, instead of dealing 25% moisture when she closes the, abyss, she will now deal 30% moisture to somebody who's within the abyss when she closes it. This thing is not going to scale up, so she is still going to only deal 50% moisture when she's at full presence. But in the beginning, it's going to help her to maybe use her water a little bit more efficiently. If you didn't know already, there is a reduction of how much moisture a survivor gets when they come to rescue from a chair, and because of this, it has been increased from 5% to 6%. So survivors coming in to rescue will now gain a tiny bit more moisture than they did already. And one of her biggest changes that I think is going to be really important to her is that her dash can now be cancelled. Before, I felt like the dash was a really good ability, but obviously it had its downsides that made it more balanced and more fair. But now that you can kind of cancel this dash halfway through or whenever you want, makes it less of a skill thing and more of a movement thing. And I'm not sure if I really like that. This is guaranteed to make her much more powerful than she already is. So, yeah, I'm worried to see where this is going to put Naiad, but the rest of the changes, I think they're quite good. Geisha is finally getting a little bit of a buff, but not much of one. Her attack recovery is going to get sped up, and also her butterfly charge rate is going to go down from 20 seconds to 17 seconds. These are both very necessary changes, and I'm really glad to see that Geisha's hitbox, or at least her attack, is getting some type of buff. Something that I personally was super excited to see was that Evil Reptilian, also known as Lucino, is going to get a big hitbox improvement. What it sounded like was that they were going to improve the hitbox, but as I understand, it's actually changing the hitbox judgment, or at least how fast it counts as a hit, and also how it hits a survivor when you are near an object. Before, I think it was very easy for you to hit a wall, for example, instead of hitting a survivor. So that should now be fixed. It will now prioritize the survivor a little bit more. There was also some discussion about his crash hitbox, when he jumps down and slams into the ground, getting some type of improvements, but I actually haven't seen any of those changes yet. So I would like to see if that's true, because he really needs something right now. You barely see him anymore, and he's definitely not in any high tier matches, or at least not many of them. Toy Merchant is getting a small buff to hers as well. Her catapult can now be seen a little bit more from further away. She's getting a new external trait that I don't personally understand. I did see it, but I can't remember what it did. Toy Merchant can now carry 1 extra item per game as a gift to other survivors. Also, in front of the catapult, you'll now see like a blue arrow that is pointing or to assist survivors to know in which direction they're going to get fired. Lawyer is going to become much more powerful as a decoder because now he will gain 1% faster decoding speed after every 5% of a cipher machine that he completes, getting to a maximum of a 20% buff in his decoding. This is replacing his previous thing that was once he completes a cipher, he will get 20% faster decoding. Now, instead, he will slowly increase up to that 20%. That means that he can be decoding much faster overall because he's getting faster and faster over time and not just getting the ability at the end of the cipher machine. His map usage is also going to be decreased by 100%. So now technically you'll be able to use your map much more often. That I think makes sense because it does feel like you could use it up all in one go. Explorer is having more of a nerf, as I would understand. He will now have different exploring times depending on which treasure he is doing. The first treasure will take 27 seconds to dig up, the second one 24, and the last one 20. So technically his last one will be faster because right now I think it's sitting at 22 or 23 seconds, but overall it's going to take him longer in the early game. That should balance him out a little bit more. Barmaid is getting quite a few different changes. She now, as I understand, will only have to mix once. Her second thing that she is getting is that her tipsy, when she drinks one of her drinks, she will lose some of her decoding speed. Now is being decreased in how much she loses. Originally it was 8%, now she only has 5% slower decoding per time that she drinks one of these drinks. That means she's going to decode a little bit faster. One of her biggest changes though is that now once she is doing a healing animation when she is, when she's taken one of these drinks, chip damage or damage that is not a full hit won't interrupt her healing. This was one of her biggest counters, and I'm not sure that many people except for Barmaid mains are looking forward to this. It means that now she will be able to heal more consistently, and hunters won't be able to just hit them with the statue and interrupt her healing. Acrobat is having another quality of life change where now after he does a jump, he can perform a roll in a certain direction that you specify with your camera. And he can also use his bombs while moving. This is really good for him because I think he needs a little bit more of a buff because you don't see him that often, and when you do, he feels a tiny bit lackluster overall. I think the biggest change that we have here is coming towards Lucky Guy. Finally, Lucky Guy might be played more often. He will begin the match with a gift. The gift will act the same as a chest, or at least an instant chest, because what you do is you wish for an item, and then you open this thing and you will instantly get an item that is randomized. Then you can use it. So you don't need to go towards a chest to go and open it at the beginning of a match. You just have one of these chests with you. If Lucky Guy fails a wish, the next wish is apparently 100% guaranteed. So you can go to another box and get whatever it is that you wished for last time. Lucky Guy will also be able to see all the chests within 25.3 meters of him. If there are multiple Lucky Guys, they will share the number of items they wish for. I don't know what that means. Is there a limit on how many times you can wish as Lucky Guy? Apparently there is. One more thing that got announced was that we've seen what the new rank essence accessories are. We've got an S tier accessory for Axe Boy that is like a snake, an A tier one for Prospector that is a goblet with an egg on top of it, and Acrobat who has got himself a box. I've yet to see what the effects are for this, but I'm very interested in seeing what they could be. Because today was such a long episode, we won't be doing the talk in the manner today because this will take quite a long time and I didn't want to kind of make this video become eternal. So if you guys have any interesting comments, I will do my best to be able to respond to more comments next week. Hopefully we don't have like a ton of updates and changes, but yeah, I'd like to respond to all of your comments in next week's episode of This Week in Identity 5. If you found this information useful, please give this video a like, and whilst you're down there, make sure to subscribe if you would like to get some news every single week about Identity 5. Take care, guys. Bye bye.